you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing, my Westchester sister?
I am good, my Bronx sister.
Listen, I'm glad to sit with you again to have this conversation. And as we know, this birth worker work, even in today's time,
Yeah,
is no joke. So
it's no joke. And it's so needed.
well, yeah, I wanted to like circle back with you, and get into the postpartum period, right? Because
Mhm.
we always talk about the postpartum period being that fourth trimester and how
Yep.
it's difficult already for new time parents, even for those that are revisiting. And so it's like
Oh,
some
yeah.
past,
Hmm. Yeah. Well, a lot of
so
moms I talk to, like, it didn't go well for them the first time and they don't want to repeat.
yeah. They don't want to repeat, not with the journey, and
Right.
sometimes not with the people that were around them to support them.
That's true too. That's real talk. It's true. It's true. Like, I've had a few clients so far this year that have said, for their first child, they had some well-meaning family members the first time around, and they've very politely told those well-meaning family members, step aside. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it
because
happens.
sometimes you cannot have both. You see, I root for the side of the underdog, so to speak, right? Because this has been something that's been in my family for as long as I can remember. My
Mm,
grandmother, is up there in her years as an elder, and she birthed all her children at home. So now
wow.
we're coming into where you're going to take your training from, who you're getting certified. And you know that really changed after the pandemic, to keep it
Oh,
real.
yeah.
Before it wasn't, like you take some training and then you do your part, right, to continue the education. So I see now that there's a big issue on who you're getting trained by. They're throwing big names around. What's the quality of their training? But then we're also forgetting about those well meaning family members. And
Hmm.
sometimes in the areas that I serve, that's all you got.
Right. Yep. Yeah. You're bringing up a really important point. Like, I wonder if somebody out there wants to do, like, not a certification training, but some type of training for people that only are going to have family members. Like a 2 hour thing, like just to get family members on board with where the birthing person wants to be. Someone should come up with that,
Yeah,
you
I mean,
know?
I sit with families and that's what we have the conversation, because it's
Hmm.
like, and this is before the right, this is before the Medicaid issue,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
We're not even going
Hmm.
to talk about what a birth worker has to go through to get paid, to get signed on, to get credentialed. We're not
Yeah.
even going to touch that right now. But I sit with families that it's like, I want my sister there with me,
Right.
and I have to take that into consideration, because as a brain spotting practitioner, the most important thing is to be present with someone.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
A doula is a non-medical provider, and I have
Yeah.
said this since, and I'm going to date myself, since I first got certified. That I
Yeah.
was like, let me go through the certification process, even though I've been doing this for as long as I can remember. Let me start just in case, because you know how the system is funny. But I've
Hmm.
been saying, yes, you're a non-medical provider, but there are some medical things that you need to know being in that
Hmm.
space.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. I mean, at the very basic level of information, what I do tell, sometimes I'm on the phone with clients and they ask me if myself or other doulas I work with, like, oh, are you a lactation counselor or are you a lactation educator? And I tell them straight up, I say, I had my own breastfeeding difficulties, what my journey was. I see what a lot of my clients go through. If my job as a doula is to recognize there's something, going on beyond like just a latching issue. And if I see there's a problem, like, I want you to see an IBCLC. I want you to like go to the expert, the person that has gone through 3 years and hours and hours. And I don't even remember how many hours they need, but I think it's like 120 hours or something like that. I don't know. I want you to see the expert. I don't want you to go see somebody that took a 1 day class. That's how
Right?
important. That's how important it is. Like that's how important it is.
I like that
So
you said
when
that
people,
because that's so true. It just doesn't take 1 day or a couple of hours. And this is not to knock. I have to be
no,
mindful because maybe that birth worker, that's all that they can have. But
right,
it's about being the self-learner,
right,
self-educated. Like keep those,
right,
like we keep the knives sharp in the house, keep
hmm
those skills sharp
right,
and know your level and know your
right,
lane.
right. That's what I'm saying. Like I know what I'm comfortable advising a breastfeeding mom, but at some point I step aside and say, I want to bring in an expert. I want to bring in somebody that really has the training and that is qualified and is going to solve your problem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or give you the more seasoned
right.
information so that way you can make a better informed decision. So, I
Yeah,
mean, you're speaking about what supports that doula or that birth worker has. What are
right.
your resources and what are your connections?
Yeah, and I love sitting in on those meetings when the IBCLC does come meet with my client because I will specifically, even if I'm not even scheduled that day, like I want to be there to learn, from the IBCLC, like, okay, like this is the way we're going to fix this. This is the what you should look out for. Like I learn from them so that I know for next time, like, oh, okay, like this is something, it's every day you're learning, right? You're always learning.
Yeah,
I learn from my clients, I learn from other birth workers, all of it.
yeah. I mean, I think that's why I love the way that the community is developing online.
Hmm.
The birth worker community space. Me and my team have been working really hard to keep
Mm.
it a safer space, not to have it so salesy and to
Hmm.
have it more engaging where people can connect.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's taking a while because last week we had 1,100 new members come in.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a few people from India. We have a
Oh,
couple
wow.
of people from Japan. I'm super excited because
That's
it's like,
exciting.
yeah, we're all doing this work and it's still like snowflakes. Every client is different and you're different in every situation.
Yep. Yep.
But I wanted to, before we move on to the next topic, because you're
Mm.
doing a lot of things that I've noticed. I've been looking at your site. Um, how do you feel about being in that space? You've been there for a minute. This is the second time that we've had that this conversation on postpartum. We're going to move it a little bit more because you have something new coming up. But
Yeah.
what do you notice in that space, and what do you think that we can do better when it comes to connecting doulas? We know people have their courses and trainings, but we don't want to drown out the voices of expectant parents and new doulas looking for that mentorship. So
Yeah.
give me a little feel about how you feel in that space and what do you think that we can do better?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I love connecting with other doulas. Like I posted, whoop, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago that my favorite people to spend time with are doulas. Like my friends are my friends, but there's nothing like being in a room, in real life, IRL. But also online. There's nothing like spending time with people, mostly women, obviously, but spending time with people who understand what you go through in a day, like how you're serving your clients
Right.
and learning from each other. Like that's the most important thing because there are all these other different certifications. Everyone's gotten their certification. I don't know how many companies are out there doing it. Let's say 50 more. Everyone learns how to be a doula postpartum. I'm talking about like in a different way. Their process was different. But in real life, when they're supporting clients, like we're all trying to do the right thing and we're all trying to get our client through that fourth trimester in like
Right.
the most calm and relaxed way possible. Um, But I don't know about, what you can do better. I mean, I think what you do is amazing. I mean, you're making the connections. You're bringing doulas together. Like to me, there's nothing better to me than like hanging out with other doulas, even
I
if
love
it's
it.
online or in real life. Like either way, like I've gone to a couple doula retreats. It's the best. It's the best. Like I really, I do. Doulas are my favorite people.
Yeah, I love the in person, but
Yeah.
I also love the virtual space because I can go
Hmm.
anywhere in the world. As
True.
long as I'm up on their time zone and
Yes.
we have beautiful conversations, I'm going to be bringing more people on. And this is a female dominated space,
Oh
but
yeah.
we do have some professional males in the space. We have a
I've seen a
pediatrician, we
few.
have an OB, so
Okay. Yeah. I've seen also a few male doulas out there. I've seen a few.
doulos, they
Doulos.
corrected me. They're
Oh. Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. But and actually uh just because I've listened and I've heard about it, there's actually a lot of I want to give the men credit. There's a lot of men going into the death doula space, which is also very interesting.
Mhm.
So I love that men are coming into like these supportive roles. Like I think, you know, um, bring anyone who wants to be a support to someone when they're going through something hard. Like, we need
Yeah.
it all.
And that's not easy work. I can speak from lived experience in the profession. I've been doing death work since I was
Mm.
18.
Oh,
I'm 52, so
uh-huh.
it's many, many years, and you learn from a whole bunch of people.
Mm.
I've seen a lot of males in that space,
Hmm.
and the care that they give, it's almost as to say that end of life protection,
Hmm.
that protective energy, that it's
Hmm.
a beautiful thing to see. It really is in such tough, difficult situations, especially when families are disconnected, and there's loss.
Yeah.
So taking this conversation and speaking about the loss part, right?
Mm.
There's comment is trending, and I say trending, but it's always been
Yeah.
this conversation that's going on that we need to protect our children more,
Mm.
especially with what we're seeing on the news, especially with what's always been happening, but now it's front and center.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've noticed that I don't know if that's something new, that's something that you had in the works, but it did come on my radar when I reached out to you. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, my private eye detective doula, my sister from Westchester, got
That's
something
right.
going on. So please tell us a little bit because I noticed you have take the quiz. You got the red flags. You see, I've been paying attention. So when you think nobody's watching, they're watching. Take us down that journey because that is also part of that postpartum period.
Yeah.
You have some moms that do have the luxury of doing the cuarentena at home, the 40 days at home but there's some moms that, and some families expect it, even dads,
Hmm.
you got to go straight to work. Now, who do you leave your child with? Because
Hmm.
sometimes you can't even leave that child with a family member.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep.
So let's
No,
go
for
down that
sure.
road.
All right. Well, just quick. My background, before I was a doula, I was a private investigator for 25 years. So, that's like, so I only say that because my mind works in a certain way. I question everything. I look through the lens of an investigator still, even now. Because it's just, 25 years is just, it's a part of me. In any case, so fast forward, I'm a postpartum doula and I'm with my client. I was with her the whole time she was on maternity leave, and she knew a little bit about my background. And she started looking at daycares, and she was starting to feel, and I remember what that felt like myself. She was starting to feel that trepidation of like, oh, you know what? Like, I have to leave my 3-month-old with the care of someone else. And I've been there. Like, I know that panic feeling. I know that, like, it's just like you can't breathe. In any case, so she and I started having conversations. And so she was going the daycare route. And she looked at 5 daycares in her area, right? And daycares are all over the place today. It's not like it used to be that you had to travel to go to one. Like they're popping up all over. There's, big centers, there's franchise centers, there's people have small ones in their home, like all of it.
Yeah, because in
Anyway,
the 80s and 90s, the government had a program going out that it was almost like a workforce program. Like this was something
oh,
else that you could do and be a childcare provider. Because I remember even looking at the
mm-hmm,
documentation and I was like,
mm,
this is it. And
yeah,
I know it was around, for me, when I was looking into it, was around the late 90s. Because I
okay,
was like, oh, I can have a daycare in my home.
yes,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And then witnessing myself on that
mm-hmm,
journey. And that's then.
yeah,
We're in 2026 now. That was then. And I would
yeah,
notice that some daycares, quote unquote, right, in the home or in the bottom of somebody else's building, and I'm talking about
mm-hmm,
throughout the Bronx.
mm-hmm,
Some of them, if you stood there long enough, they have your child in front of the TV most of the time. It's like,
mm-hmm,
what programming do they have? Are they going to be learning something
mm-hmm,
here? Do they
mm-hmm,
have all the ages together in one, like Little House on the Prairie, the schoolhouse, everybody all together? And what
yeah,
credentialing is done with the workers?
yeah,
So I know that it's been a journey. And for myself, in 2009, I went to a SUNY school,
mm-hmm,
and my work study, I chose to work at the childcare center that was on site.
oh,
And I noticed how different they were. I don't know if it was because they were at a SUNY, that it was for the SUNY students,
yeah, yeah,
but they had me fingerprinted. I had to wait.
mm-hmm,
They did 10, 15 years back check. There
mm-hmm,
was training that happened before I could even enter the room. And because my son was there also, I was
yeah,
not able to be in the same room with him. I can come peek in
okay.
and visit, but I was not able to do that. So I don't want to interrupt you. Continue that journey, please, and tell
No,
me,
no.
because I want to know if anything has changed, what is different, and what do you look for?
Yeah. So, since you and I are New Yorkers, we are of the benefit of a state that has state regulation. So there is something called the Office of Child and Family Services. And basically what they are the overruling regulating agency. So, and it doesn't matter what kind of daycare, home, big franchise, bottom of the basement, whatever, you have to be registered with OCFS in New York State in order to actually have a legal daycare. And so my client and I go back to my client. She was like, "Oh, the first thing she said, what should I do?" I said, "Let's check the. Oh, you can go on OCFS. You can see if they're registered. Let's go check." And 2 out of the 5 were not registered, and she freaked out. And she was just like, "Oh my God!" Like, first of all, she said, "Like, if I didn't have you here, I would have never known this." But I was like, "It's okay." And then she's like, "What else should I be checking? Like, what else do I need to do? What questions do I need to be asking the daycare owners or the providers or whatever?" And so at that moment, I realized that like she, as most moms, dads, partners, whoever, people that are leaving their child in the care of somebody else really have no idea how to give themselves, I guess, a feeling of confidence and calm when they leave their child. And so I decided that, everyone says a lot of I'm not going to name names, but a lot of care provider companies like will say, "Oh, we background all of our, we background all of our providers, or we background all of our workers, whatnot." But what they think is a comprehensive background check is not what I think is a comprehensive background check. And so what I did is I was like, all right, I have to be a doula to these people that are not even my postpartum doula clients, but are in the same way like when you're a doula and you're helping people transition from the hospital back to home and being at home, I'm kind of feel like I'm being a doula to these parents that are transitioning from maternity leave, going back to work. So what I came up with is a interview process. It's based on 10 questions, but it's an interview process that you're asking the same questions of like a nanny or a daycare owner as if you were doing a background check. You're asking them the questions that a background check would cover. And so yeah, so I mean, I feel like it was a way for me to empower parents to not feel that panic. Like when they go through this interview process, they're going to feel confident that they asked all the questions that they needed to ask, and they know that, like, okay, this place is safe. The daycare is safe to leave my child, or this nanny is safe to leave my child with. And I don't like to be like a doom and gloom, but I hear all these, negative stories about people that leave their kids with a nanny or in a daycare, that they just got 3 references and it sounded good. And I think sometimes parents, they are in a panic. And so they make a quick choice before they really are taking the time to, like really figure out, like, who am I leaving my kid with?
Yeah, but to be fair, right? We're talking like New Yorkers. In a New York minute, you have to make that decision because
Yes.
how much time do you have to go back?
Right.
I know when I was growing up, even with my mom, you know, she had to go to work. It
Hmm.
was the situation that she was in,
Yeah.
as a single mom. And usually you do the best that you can, or you think that you're making the best decision that you can. Word of mouth. How do you think fulana is? How do you think such and such is? How many
Right.
children did they take care of?
Right.
But everybody's situation changed. Like with me, I didn't have a good experience
Mm.
with the babysitter. There were
Hmm.
certain things that happened, and I was young, so
Mm.
we're talking about childhood traumas. And I was young, but I was young, but I had an understanding that my mom had to leave me there. So
Hmm.
I had to survive
Mm.
in there until it changed.
You were sucking it up.
If that's what you call it for kids, because
Yeah.
I was young,
Hmm.
and I knew that my mom needed to be out there. I knew that that was the only way. So, and I'm very careful on how I speak about that story because some things she was not aware about. It
Right.
wasn't until I started processing my trauma. But when I peel back the layers and I'm like, the time period that we were in, the
Mm.
time of the community that we were in, what was available to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how many things when I look back, I'm like, whoa, a lot of things have changed because they found this wrong, they found that wrong, they shut that down. Now, thank
Yeah.
goodness. But to
Yeah.
be fair, sometimes you have to make that decision in a quick minute. I wish that there were rating systems like we have the trust pilot for real, even
Mm.
with people that aren't care.com, so to speak. you
Right.
know I'm here to be a babysitter, or my teenage daughter is in that age that she wants to be a babysitter.
Yeah.
What are the criteria for that? Does she even have first aid?
Right.
There's so many things to think
Right.
about,
Yep.
really, to be fair.
Yeah. And that is one of the questions that I put on because I figured everybody is going to interview somebody, right? Everybody's going to sit down and talk to this babysitter, nanny, daycare owner, whoever. So if they have these questions, then they can feel like, okay, I know these questions to ask, and I'm gonna, go through this interview, and the information that I get as a result of these questions, I'm gonna know, I'm gonna feel secure in my choice, right? Now you're right though, like some people I know from so I grew up in Queens, and I was also with I think my mom, like I was with like a cacophony of different people. Like she had me with my grandparents sometimes, a babysitter sometimes, an after school program at the Y. Like I don't know I don't know where I was. It was like all the above. But I'm saying, like, she was trying to get through the month too, like wherever she had me, probably she maybe didn't have as much money one week. So that was my grandparents' week. And then there was another week that, there was more money. So I went to the Y. Like, I don't really know, the truth, right? Like you're saying. There was a lot of times that we were latchkey kids and I let myself in my apartment.
Yeah, that was the
You
latchkey.
know?
Me and my husband talk about that all the time. That was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
latchkey era.
yeah.
When you're talking about that, I can remember my
Mhm.
mom telling me stories when she had to switch me from
Mm,
one babysitter to the other because the
mm,
lady that she had left me with, she had other children. And
mhm,
at that point, I was my mom's only child,
mhm,
so she came in and brought a whole bunch of food for me and would
mhm.
wonder why I was still hungry and realize that the food that she was bringing for me was being shared with the other
Oh,
children. And I'm
oh,
and I'm to assume, right, knowing that and knowing what I know now, that
yeah,
it must have been hard times for them. And this was a
yeah,
way to,
yes,
like this for that,
100%.
and then
Listen,
we
I
also
think
have
as
the
moms, we do whatever we got to do to get through
we
and take care
do.
of our kids, like
But
whatever it
what you're
is. Yeah,
doing is to give a better choice. At least you're asking the questions. It's
right,
better than not asking the questions. And
right.
another thing that comes up for me too is, what are their mental health state like? Because a lot of people
Hmm.
could smile in your face, right? New Yorkers, we
Yep.
have a spidey sense. They could
Yes.
smile in your face and everything is good. But when that door is closed, what are their personal relationships like?
Hmm. Hmm.
What uncles are going to come visit? Where's
Hmm.
your boyfriend at? Are you
Hmm.
married? What your husband is like? And what are your kids? Because
Hmm.
another thing that I could bring up from my childhood is kids abuse other kids.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's a lot to think about, and not to be once again doom and gloom, but it shows.
No, but like we have to, I want parents to be informed and feel like they've looked under every rock and checked every box. You know what I mean? And they made the best choice possible at that time, right? So, yes, I don't want to be doom and gloom, but I do think it is important that we show parents like, and also I don't want people to have to go back to work questioning, was that really the right person? Did I really leave my kid in a safe place? Did I make a panic decision? I want to try to help them avoid doubting themselves.
And the
Yeah.
doubt's going to come. The
Yeah.
doubt is going to come. The thing is this, never stop. If that's the case, right? We say this in our spaces. Well, I know that I do as a brain spotting practitioner, like tap into your intuition.
Mm,
You know that you have to make a decision. Sometimes the decision that you have to make is a tough decision.
right.
Like you never want to push your child in the pool and they don't really know how to swim, but you know that you put in some of the lessons. They know the doggy paddle. So,
Yeah.
I don't, and nobody, like right now at the stage that I am in life with my youngest one, I
Mm-hmm.
leave him with no one.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest is going to be 33. I have a
Mm-hmm.
33-year-old. I have a
Uh-huh.
26-year-old daughter. I have a 17-year-old son, and I got the 9-year-old. So as I've had my children, I've learned
Yeah.
to do better. But the decisions that I've made along the way haven't been the greatest. Although at certain times I thought that I did.
Mm-hmm.
From when
Mm-hmm.
you have that person that is a good person, but
Mm-hmm.
they're taking care of your child and they happen to get that phone call and now they talking filth, flaunt, filth, and now they're heightened and they're angry. And they're like, get away from me, kid. And even
Mm-hmm.
that small little thing, we don't know what can be traumatic from one person to the other, right?
True. True.
So we try to do the best that we can. So,
Yeah.
when I hear you speak, I'm like, yes, you're equipping parents with like, ask these questions better than not ask the questions.
Right.
Do the interview process the best that you can. But
Mm-hmm.
then if you still have that underlying gut feeling, keep continuing to interview in between the free time that you have.
Yes.
So that way you can pull your child out,
Yeah,
and
man.
always look for that trusted person. We all have that somebody that we can trust with our life. Even though human nature is human nature, none of us are perfect,
No.
but we do have as professionals, and I know that you do this too from our last conversation,
Yeah.
we have a responsibility to not cause further harm and further
Right.
trauma,
Do no harm. Yeah.
especially being believers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm going to put that out there from our last conversation. We won't go too
Hmm.
deep into that because, people feel how they feel. But when you have that anchor,
Yeah.
You know that you're here to do your absolute best. You're
Hmm.
here to make sure that when they think of you as a birth worker, they know that they're getting top quality. And
Hmm.
I love that you brought this into the space, because even before we connected, I was like, let me just double check to make sure that this is really going on right now. And I'm like, yeah, she has to take a quiz. She has like the checklist of the red flags, because although you're looking at some flags, right, in community and in conversation, you might have forgotten one.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, keep
Yep.
this in mind. So
Yep.
please
Yeah.
tell me that now, with this new offer that you have,
Yeah.
what does navigating that space? Okay, so now I'm a mom. I had the privilege of having like what, the 3 months, 40 days, whatever it is now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully, I say postpartum should be at least a year, but
Well,
and
yeah.
now I'm going back to work. How long is the process with you? Is it accessible? it, is there scholarships? The services that you provide as a doula, is this covered by insurance or not? Is this private pay? Like, let's go down that road, so that way
Yeah.
whoever may be listening in has a full scope of what they're
Yeah.
offering, because I know that you offer affiliate, because you even offered
Yes.
it to me. So, and I
Yes.
took it, I took myself, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take that.
All right. Well, because why don't we all help each other? Um, well, so for my postpartum doula work, I won't say that I accept insurance necessarily. There are some insurances that are out there now that I guess you can say if I submit. So for there's an insurance now. I don't know if you're familiar with something called Carrot Fertility. Um, so I had to, become a registered doula on there. You have to be like, registered on there. And so let's say if a client comes to me and their company uses Carrot Fertility, I have to send directly to Carrot, or no, I could send it to the client too, a copy of the contract and a copy of the invoice of the full contract. And they will get full reimbursement depending on the company. Some companies get full reimbursement. Some companies, they give the client, okay, you have $10,000, spend it as you will. So they'll get a birth doula, they'll get a postpartum doula, with that amount of money. So I will help a client, get their reimbursement any way that they need to. There's also another one I heard of called Maven. I have not had a client with that. I have had a client that used Progeny, which is another one. So basically, they can get full reimbursement as long as I provide them with the documentation, and I will always do that. I always whatever helps my client, I will do it.
No, I'm there
um,
with you. With the insurance, that's a
yeah,
sticky one, because I
yeah.
I am private pay. I
Okay,
always
yeah.
have been private pay. But
Hmm.
if you get the family early enough, it's like, let's
Hmm.
plan.
Yeah.
If you're
Yes.
gonna, and a lot of the home births, if you're gonna spend, the $6,000 on the midwife,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
do the three thousand. I'm usually the
Hmm.
half. And I
Hmm.
can I can work with my numbers, of course. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
anything that the family needs, so that they can have that support. But what I have been noticing is, I've been receiving phone calls for two reasons. They find me either through LinkedIn or through my NPI.
Hmm.
They give me a call because now there's this surge with, let's get a whole bunch of doulas on Medicaid, state
Oh,
specific.
yeah. Hmm.
You know what I'm
Hmm.
talking about?
Yes,
And
yeah.
then there's stories in there that it takes a long time to get paid. That they even reached out to me, and this was just like a couple of days ago, that I told them I don't know if I want to go through that process, because it takes about 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes longer, depending on your credentialing, the paperwork that you have to put in, your insurance or the training, and they did offer me, oh, well, you have this beautiful birth worker space.
Hmm.
We would like for you to be, to refer. And
Oh,
they did give me good numbers. But
okay.
my thing is this, with everything that's going on right now, and you're my private investigator doula. I love saying that. PI doula. You
Uh-huh.
know, how is it to know what's fraud,
Yeah,
what's real? You
that's
know,
hard.
and then if I refer you, that's my reputation.
Right.
You know, are you going to take care of them? Then some of them want a percentage, some of them don't. It's free to do the credentialing. They shouldn't be charging you. Then it's just so many things that are going on right now that for
Mm,
me, the safe way for me is to deal directly with the family where they are.
right.
You
Yep.
know, some of them do have that spend down, which
Hmm.
works the same way. I think it's the FSA or the HA, something, you
Oh,
know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't
Hmm.
done one in a while because of any
Yeah.
private pay, but that they do the spend that you have to supply them with the doula attestation, the contract, you know, the
Right.
services provided, the
Yep.
codes,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Talking about non-medical providers, but you need
I
to know
know.
medical
And then all
things.
of a sudden you've been admin for like, yeah.
Yeah, but getting back to this, you know, because the child care is a big thing. It's always been a
Yes.
big issue and a big concern. So,
Yeah.
you know, I do want to shed light on that because I think that's a very good thing you have going on right now.
Oh, thank you. And I came up with the quiz because a lot of parents there may think like, well, that's what my best friend did. She got three references. They all came out good. They talked to the person, they interviewed them and all went well, right? Okay. So I came up with this quiz because I wanted people to have an understanding of like, okay, let's just see where you fall in your interview process. Like what do you know in terms of what to ask or what's important to ask? So the quiz, and I try to make it a little fun so it's not boring. So the quiz is you go through a series of questions, and at the end, you find out which TV detective character are you most aligned with, So you can be like, your stuff and come out as Sherlock Holmes, or you got problems and you're Columbo. You know what I mean? So that's why I developed the quiz because listen, people are skeptical today, right?
Yeah.
And everyone thinks they're the expert. Everyone thinks they're a doctor because they got Google. Like, and so I appreciate skepticism, but I felt like let me show people exactly, where they stand, like in how they view the interview process in as a whole. And the red flags is again, like I wanted people to, and that's free for anybody on the website. They go, it's called Private Eye Parent. If anyone goes to the website, is a free top 5 red flags. And because I wanted people to know, at least since you said to me before, like what, can people afford? That's something for free that if they interview anybody, even a babysitter, these are the things that you need to look out for. And then the other thing offer I have is something called I called the Childcare Interview Toolkit, which again is you're just getting still the top 5 red flags, but then you get the interview guide, which is basically the meat and potatoes, the 10 questions. But the bigger thing that I got that I developed was basically it's a digital course, and I'm taking parents through the interview process on a more detailed level to cover exactly what you just said. How are they answering these questions? Like how are they holding their arms? Like
Yes, the
are
body
they the
language
body
part.
language? Like are they getting offended from these questions? Like I take them through a journey of asking these questions. It's just a little bit more detailed. I'm going to have a monthly Facebook group that everybody can come and ask me questions. If they purchase the course, they can come once a month and ask me whatever they want. Because I know that even after taking the course, people are going to have questions.
You need support. You
So
always need support, especially when you're
exactly,
learning something new. You know, there's
exactly.
natural
So
anxiety, there's natural curiosity, and it feels that much more comforting. Like you don't have to hold my hand all the way, but if you just hold my hand a little bit, you know.
yeah, yeah. And I wanted there again, like, now I said before, like my lens is a private investigator, but really my lens now is like being a doula and supporting people. And so I didn't want to leave anybody feeling like, oh, I have all these questions. Like, what do I do? So people can, come to this Facebook group. So that's really it. I wanted to just be a resource for parents going to that next stage after postpartum. They're going to move on, because I would say 9.8% of my clients, all women and men, they're going back to work. Hardly anybody can stay home anymore.
Yeah, you got
So,
that right.
yeah.
No, and you are a resource. And you know what? Not to bring in, what is the current events today. Parents
hmm
need to be privatized,
hmm
both, from
hmm
both different angles. I know that's how me and my husband roll. There's
hmm
things that I see and pick up with my spidey senses,
hmm
that he might not, or it's a low level, and there's things that he sees that I might not. We have to be the tag team in this in order, it takes a village.
It
It takes
does.
all of us to
It really
take care of the
does.
little ones. And even now more than ever, because from our generation, I'm going to say like that, from where we're from, because we're all New Yorkers here.
hmm
It's like, now as we age, I don't know about you, but I know for me, I'm like, wow, that was childhood trauma for me.
hmm hmm
Now I'm doing that work. That's what makes me good at what I do in brain spotting world. That's what
hmm
makes me good at what I do as a trauma specialist. On top of that full spectrum doula piece, on top
mm
of that death doula piece. You see what I'm saying? Like working in
Yeah.
that area,
Yes.
and I'm like, I wouldn't want, for, like you said, just take it, just deal with it, just,
Right.
cope, just survive,
Right.
because that's what children do, and
Yeah.
then sometimes they want to please their parents so much.
Yeah.
They want to be helpful to the family, or they've been threatened
Yeah.
and scared that they don't
Yeah.
say anything.
And they also sometimes like take it on themselves, like they think whatever happened was their fault. And they just, they just make that assumption, and or they don't want to upset their parent. So they like, they hold it and carry that with them. And to your point, anything that I can remember back that I thought was traumatic for myself growing up, I know for my two kids, I have a son and a daughter, and I did whatever I could to put roadblocks so that they didn't ever have to experience what I experienced in that way. And actually, that's how I view my postpartum doula business. Like, I had a horrible postpartum the first time, and I'm trying to avoid any of my clients go through what I went through. So, like, again, like I feel like in the birth worker world, like we're trying to kind of put us all in this like eco dome of protection.
Yeah.
Protecting our clients, protecting each other.
Hmm.
Because I do appreciate there's a lot of doulas out there now that are doing trauma work, like trauma that you go through as a birth worker.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
I'm not a birth doula, but I have a lot of birth doula friends now. And I hear what they go through with some of their clients, and it's heavy. Like
Of course it is.
they need to process that in some way. Um,
Yeah, you're
so
correct
yeah,
on that.
yep.
Um, that trauma work is something else, and
hmm
you're right. And that's why I asked you, early on in our conversation, with that private eye lens that you have, because I feel that same way about the birth worker community.
mm
You know, there's different colors, creed, cultures in there. So I have
hmm
to be mindful that when I'm speaking to different levels of understanding,
Right.
to different belief systems, and also to the different ways that people do business.
hmm
I try, to just leave it a little bit open, but when I tell folks, like, be mindful of dropping the links and the hashtags, because the algorithms are changing. And this is also to
hmm
teach other people, like, if you haven't had a space and held a group space together, a virtual space, and my group is not private, that
hmm
gives another layer of protection. It's public.
Yeah.
So this, with your private, that there's different, like the cameras have to be on, and my team in the back end is small. but we have to vet everyone that comes into the space. Like, are you really in birth work world? And if you're
Hmm.
not in birth work world, why are you here? What do you
Hmm.
want to do in this space? And it takes time,
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
you have to do that. You have to do that. I get a lot of sometimes, I get a lot of Facebook friend requests, and I go and check their profile first and look for their work experience. And if it's empty, deny.
Yeah, I mean,
I
you
mean, I
have
don't, like,
to.
why am I going to let you into, even though it's just Facebook and it's online, but like, why am I going to let you into my space if I don't know who you are and you're not being transparent
Right,
about
right,
who
right.
you are or what you do?
Yeah.
And if I don't know you personally, so why are you connecting with me? Like I
What is it that you
question,
want, right?
yeah, what do you
What you
want?
want?
Yeah.
No, it's so true. And I
But
feel that way about this space, and I'm
yeah.
just like, we all are working hard as it is to protect our
Hmm.
families.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone that's coming into this space to start hacking people.
Hmm.
I start putting out community guides, like, allow the other person to have their own autonomy and stop
Hmm.
saying DM me. We all know that we're here to connect.
Yeah.
We all know that. Let them say, hey, reach out to me. Let them decide,
Right.
and then also too with these AIs and automation,
Uh,
what I noticed on the back end, because like I told you, we had 1,100 new members come in on the back end,
it's
which I was
amazing.
like, oh my goodness. It took me a while to get through it, like, who are you, who you
Yeah.
say you are?
Yeah.
And then some of them with the language barrier with answering the questions, and giving
Oh,
them an
yeah.
opportunity, like, you need to go out and come back in. It's just,
Uh-huh.
like that boundary, that protective layer.
Yeah.
But then also, to be open-minded in the space that, everybody does want to connect. There
Right.
are people out there that are like, I'm a doula and I'm about to quit. I don't have no clients. I've done this training. Where
Uh,
can I find a mentor? I need to have X number of births. Can I shadow somebody? And that's what the space was built for.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
built for the expectant parents and the new doulas. So us seasoned doulas can be the mentors. And in
Right.
that space, it also allows connection. Through that connection, then you tell them, check out that I have this workshop coming up. Just
Yep.
like you, I believe you have a workshop coming up too, right?
Well, what I'm doing is I'm doing a Facebook Live event,
Okay.
and it's basically to, you know, launch the course, tell people about it, and have, people can come and bring their questions, because they'll, like in a Facebook Live, they can put it in the chat. Um, because I am really excited about it, but I've been working on it for 2 years. I've worked really hard on it with help with technical people because I'm not taking credit. I don't know how to, put a lot of things. It's online. I just knew the information. But I'm it's March 26th at 12 p.m. Just going to be a Facebook Live event, and I'm just inviting anybody who has questions about doing an interview for a nanny or a daycare or babysitter. They have questions, about the course, but they just have general questions. Like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be hanging out, hopefully answering people's questions.
And where can people go to register?
So you can go to my Facebook profile, which is Jennifer Tawil, postpartum doula. And I have it on there. I also can send you the link if you want to, put it in the uh, any of the notes from this meeting. And yeah, or that someone can send me a DM and I'll send them the link. But it's a public event. Anybody can search it. Um, but I know you'll appreciate this, but I did go a little New York on the event name because I did feel like I want to open people's eyes. So the event name is Why Your Childcare Interview Process Sucks.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
sorry. I'm sorry. But
Sorry, not
I'm not actually,
sorry.
I'm not sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, not sorry. Because I want people to understand that, like, it's this important, and this is not something to play around with. And I'm being tongue in cheek, but like I'm being also serious. Like, they need to know that they got to ask these questions for these people. I'll just quickly, I have a current client right now. She has a 3-week-old, 3 weeks, and she's already interviewing daycares because this is what you got to do today now. You got to get on a waiting list or you got to give a deposit when your baby is 3 weeks old. And this baby is not going to start daycare till she's 6 months. This is insane in the membrane. But anyway, so but I've been telling my client, obviously about this launch of the course. And she said, "Oh, well, can you guide me through this? She did a virtual interview of a daycare. So I said, sure. So I gave her the interview guide and she used it to, through this virtual, interview of the daycare. And so afterwards, I asked her, I said, was it helpful? Like, did you feel, I wanted some feedback, but obviously I'm like, did you, was it helpful to you? And she said, the first thing she said, she's like, you know what? And she's a doctor, by the way. She said, I knew that I could ask these questions, but because you gave it to me in this guide, I felt more like comfortable. What did she say? She felt empowered, I guess, that these questions were legitimate to ask. That's what she said. She's like, otherwise I would have felt like, oh, is this okay to ask? She's like, but because you put it together in this guide, I felt it was legitimate. So I could ask these questions.
Listen,
Yeah.
listen, we're gonna get a little bit more New York. We have a few more minutes left.
Okay. Lay it on me.
We know how it is
Yeah.
when you out in them streets and somebody's talking to you and they're talking to you to the point that they want to distract you. Pay attention to the nice shiny object over here while I'm doing something over here. And I think that the questions you have keep you or keep the person in check. Because with my little one, I trust him with no one because I've learned.
Yeah.
I've seen the changes with my older one, and I'm like, you know what? I give all thanks and praise to the Almighty that He has me on the path that I am, that I'm able to be home. Work from home.
Yeah.
I'm able to travel with him. He's being schooled at home. Mind you, we have to go here and there to do the state testing, but he's with us all the time. We're together.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have had that for my other kids, but I also know that when somebody's out there to deceive you, that's the intention that they had. If somebody's out there hiding something, or they're not ready yet, because to give the benefit of the doubt, so we say, oh, they're not ready, they're just starting, they're getting themselves together. Well, then you're not the one for me.
Right.
And that's why I say, let's get a little New York, because they'll do a lot of the talking, and then you might generally like the person. Because in business, people get to the know, like, and trust factor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something that you say resonates with me, that keeps my guard down. And I think that you're cool peoples until I know otherwise.
Right.
And these questions, make sure they're nice, they're short, they're sweet, they're not too many. Make sure that you get them all in.
Right. Yep. And it keeps them accountable throughout the interview. Right. So like you're asking them these questions and some may take them back by surprise, but that's okay. You have the right. You're leaving your most precious possession with a stranger. But I will say I want to comment on that. My kids were in daycare, both of them. My son started at 8 months. My daughter started at 3 months, same daycare. And just because, you're going to go through this process and okay, this place is safe. That doesn't mean that nothing bad is ever going to happen, So exactly. My son was, the daycare my kids went to, the best. I'm still in touch with the owners. I was so thankful and grateful for that I had such a great place to leave them through. But guess what? My son had an accident while he was there and injured his teeth. Things are going to happen. What you want to see, and this is why I'm bringing it up, is how do they react? Are they sweeping stuff under the rug? Or are they open and honest with you? So when this thing happened to my son, he was only 2, But they called me. They were like, we're taking him to the emergency room. Come meet us. Like, and when I got there, they told me everything. And it was so funny. The staff were more upset than I was. um, but I was like, I trusted them still because of how they took care of my child in an emergency. So, things are going to happen. Kids are kids. This is a daycare, nanny, whatever. But you want to know ahead of time, hopefully, like, how are these people going to deal with an emergency situation? Do they know? Do they have any training? You know what I mean?
I
So,
do know what you mean, because
yeah.
now you brought back to my memory as you spoke that potty training period.
Oh,
Sometimes it is them that's going to be doing the potty training
oh,
with your child, to
oh,
help you
yes.
along too. What is that procedure like? And I
Mm-hmm.
remember with my son, because he went into the SUNY childcare at SUNY Ulster,
Mm-hmm.
the childcare, love the people over there, trust
Mm-hmm.
them,
Yeah.
like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
At 6 weeks old, but I was taking classes and he was there at 6 weeks. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, I snuck him into my class because I was pregnant,
Oh,
and it
wow.
was like I had him, and I'm like, how do I wait until he's like 6 weeks?
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, if I breastfeed him good enough, he'll stay
Whatever it
quiet,
takes. Whatever it takes.
and
Yep.
that's what we do,
Yep.
and I'm
Moms
sharing this,
figure it
but
out.
this is what we do. And
We
when it
figure it
came
out.
to that period, you know, SUNY also is a 2-year school. I went there for
Mm-hmm.
recreational therapy to finish
Mm-hmm.
up some extra things. And it was like, how do they handle that? And they
Yeah.
were good about it. Like, this is why we need the extra clothing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be giving you a call.
Yep.
We're not going to be touching. He's going to have to do his own
Mm-hmm.
thingamajig. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? There's
Yeah.
going to be supervision.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
thing is, because let me put it to you out there. And I know, like I said, with the current events,
Yeah.
it is not only men that are abusive,
Oh no. Oh no. Nope. It is
because we tend
absolutely
to
not.
look for the guys, but
I know, you're right. Nope. Absolutely not. Everyone's got to be held accountable, please.
yeah, no, listen,
Yeah.
yes. And the thing is this, I appreciate the conversation that we had today, because we did go around the world. We did a little bit of the postpartum.
Mhm.
That's what you do. But this
Yeah.
is an extra level of protection when it comes to that postpartum period, because like we said in our last conversation, it's
Mhm.
postpartum period.
Right.
There's no going back. Your body's forever changed. This is the
Yeah.
threshold. This is where you are. And
Yeah.
everything that we can do as birth workers to help the family, to ease them, is what we're here to do. So I appreciate you. I
Thank
appreciate your
you.
time. Is
I
there anything
appreciate
else
you.
that you want to say before, we close up the hour?
Yeah, I just feel like I want to leave you and anybody listening with like a visual because it's my visual that I had for myself when I left my kids, and I went back to work. I, you know, it was obviously it's always going to be hard to leave them, but I was able to, when I left them, to like get in my car and kind of like let out this exhale, like of like, okay, you know, they're safe. I'm going to go do my 9 to 5 and come back, and I know they're going to be okay. Like that's what I'm trying to, that's the experience. That's the feeling that I'm hoping people can get. And that's really what it's all about.
Listen, and I'm going to say this too in the closing, since you brought that up.
Yeah,
I'm going to put it out there. We have not met in person, although we said we were going to try to, because
I
we New
know.
Yorker. We
I
have
know.
not. But what I
Yeah.
have picked up from you is that you're thorough,
Okay.
and
Yes. Thank you.
that you're no BS.
Thank you. No.
That I did pick up from you. So if you're wondering
Mhm.
if anybody out there is going to, that's what I picked up.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you. I appreciate the work that you do. And we'll have another conversation for another time. I really do enjoy talking to you.
You
And I
too. I
appreciate
really
you
do
being
too.
the birth worker space. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you providing it. And thank you for inviting me here. I'll talk to you anytime. And just thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bye.